Go.
Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Katie Ray. I have the sweetest guest on today, Leah Marshall. Fan favorite, a teacher out there, fan favorite. I also have her beautiful mother, Deb, here. She's in the background. You might hear her whisper every once in a while to us. We'll see if she's a good whisperer. So we have Leah, and I just brought Leah today because she is inspiring. She is a young, experienced individual who has gone through a lot, but has the most amazing attitude and energy that I've been around. And I'm so happy to have her today and get her here to the studio. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited you're here. I think sharing your story today is going to be a little empowering for you. You're in it still.
Yes.
You are such a strong force, especially for the kids that you teach, I think, of just positive energy and facing obstacles. And I am just so happy to have you here. And I'd love to just start with, you graduated from UF.
Yes.
You started teaching a year ago?
About 2 years ago now.
2 years
probably,
ago?
Yeah.
So you knew what you wanted to do. I'm assuming you watched your mom.
Yeah. Actually, well, I kind of fell into it. Actually, It wasn't exactly like a straight and narrow path.
Yeah, the usual college kid. Yeah, me
Right.
too. Yeah. Nutrition was 7 years, and then I just did communications because it was 4.
Yes.
I get it. I was like, what am I going to do? But you went to UF. You've grown up in Florida.
Yes.
Okay, so you fell into teaching, not a bad gig.
Right.
I love teachers. I respect them so much. You take care of our most prized possessions.
Yes.
Possessions as a person, but it's fine. So let's kind of get into last year when you were diagnosed.
Yes.
Okay.
Last year. So it was December of 2018 was when I first started noticing more symptoms, I guess, of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which it took a while to actually get a diagnosis, which I think was probably the hardest part of it, was just waiting. So I started noticing, like, if I ever took like a drink of beer or something, like I thought, oh, I'm having heartburn. Like maybe I have a gluten sensitivity. I started taking like Prilosec and stuff because I was having this pain in my chest. And I was like, oh, that's, kind of weird, whatever.
But you never had that pain before. I mean, not that you drank beer when you were like 18 or 12, but like, did you ever have that feeling of like food? So you thought it was heartburn from that, or you just never had that feeling before?
No, I mean, I've always had like stomach sensitivity, but I just was like, oh, it's natural. Like I'm aging. I'm 23 now.
Celiac disease. Yeah. Everybody has it.
Exactly. So I just kind of thought, oh, it's something along those lines. So I got, like the over-the-counter Prilosec, and then I had this bump up here, like right under my collarbone, and it didn't go away. And I was like, this is weird. Mm-hmm. Like maybe should get this checked out. And
did it hurt when you touch it?
No, it didn't. It was just there. So I was like, just one other small thing. And now in hindsight, I see like all these small little symptoms that all went along with the lymphoma, and that I didn't know. I took it all as individual things, but so then that was like my main tipping point. And when I finally like went to urgent care and they didn't help me, they were like, oh, maybe you scratched yourself and you're having like an allergic reaction, and gave me like a steroid to bring it down. And then I'd woken up in the middle of the night, like 2 nights later, and I woke my mom up and I was like, I can't breathe. Like something is weird,
That's scary.
Yeah.
General.
Yeah.
So you went to the ER?
Yeah. Went to the ER in the middle of the night, and they were like, oh, well, I did like heart stuff because they were worried maybe it was something to do with that. And then they said they picked up something behind my lungs. So it was basically just like a spot that they could see, which luckily enough was picked up. It was big enough that they were able to see it. So they admitted me, and then we did a bunch of tests then.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Did you ever during the process of testing think, oh my gosh, this could be cancer?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know what I thought it was going to be. And they came in, and oncologist came in like when I was in the hospital, and he was like, oh yeah, probably lymphoma. And, we didn't think that at all, of course. And he was like so casual about it. And then another doctor came in and was like, oh, it could be like these handful of autoimmune diseases. It could be XYZ. So then we thought maybe it's not that. And then testing went on it took a long time. It was like 3 months of testing after that.
Till they diagnosed you.
Yeah.
Wow. And did they, like, during that process, did they give you the worst case scenario and best case scenario at all?
No.
You just left in the dark for 3 months.
Yeah. I feel like that was probably the hardest part of
waiting.
Yeah, waiting, exactly. Because I was just sitting around, like, of course, in your mind, too, you think then, like, oh, well, what, it could be anything. It could be literally anything. They threw out all these options on the table, like, which one is it, So,
and Googling it wouldn't help.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
So during that time, like, what was your go-to to try not to stress? Because there's going to be stress and there's going to be fear and there's going to be, like, what was your go-to?
I mean, honestly, I played a whole lot of Candy Crush this whole time. And it sounds so silly, but it's just something small that, like, keeps your mind occupied where you're not. I mean, I feel like I was just, like, obsessing on, all these thoughts and, like, fears, but it was just something that I could do that was like, okay, I'm busy. Like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just,
like, stop all brain activity.
Exactly.
Let me just do Candy Crush.
Exactly. And I mean, I was working too, so that was good. And I
Keeps you busy.
Yeah, exactly. So
what about that downtime though? So you leave work, you're winding down, Candy Crush.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was worn out. Like, I mean,
tired.
Yeah. And that too had built, like, over, I realized, like, after the fact, like, I'd stopped doing anything with my friends just because I was tired all the time. Like, I was going to sleep at 8:00 every night. And I just thought, oh, like, I work in preschool. Like, that's normal. I'm just tired. I get up at 5:30 and it's like, no, that's not normal.
No, yeah. I mean, I go to bed at 8. I mean, that's normal for me. But yes, the 24. I mean, I love the 8:00
Right.
time. So let's kind of go in of when they brought you in to tell you. And I'm assuming your mom was with you.
Yes, mom was with me.
Okay.
Yes. So how it worked was I had a couple different procedures. So I had a biopsy first, which was they went down through my throat and basically they said the cells are non-malignant. So, like, that's the kind that lymphoma cancer cells have because it can be quote unquote cured. Like, it can erase the evidence of it. So they were like, oh, well, that's a good sign. And I just had this feeling like I didn't feel any better. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, but I still don't have an answer. Like, they're like, oh, well, we don't, we'll see. We have to do more testing. So then they did that. And then I had what's called a PET scan, which is what, shows the cancerous activity in your body. And that I responded, and it lit up several different spots. So then that's when they told us, and then I had another biopsy just to confirm the lymphoma. But yeah, the PET scan one, I would say I took the hardest. And I remember I, like, screamed in the doctor's office. It was bad. And it feels like even now, one of those things.
Out of body.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can see it in my mind and I watch it back like I'm the one, in the room observing it. Yeah. Just because, it's just, like, so jarring and you have no idea. Like, how do you take something like that? There's no guidebook or anything for how, how to respond to that.
How to accept that you have cancer.
Right.
There's no absolute.
Right.
So when you screamed, of course, your mom probably grabbed you and held you. But
yes.
Did they go over next steps for you? Or is it kind of blurry to you?
Yeah, I would say, the doctor was super cool, all things considered, I'd say. I don't know how usual that is. He was just like, okay, let me feel your lymph nodes. I was like, okay, sure.
Oh my gosh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're just like, okay. And so then basically that's when they said, like, we're going to do the other biopsy just to confirm and, like, make sure that that's what that is. Right? Was that the order? Yeah.
Mom's here for fact checking.
Mom's fact checking. So then they did that. And and I would say on my actual diagnosis, like, after that, I was just, like, comforted because I just wanted an answer at that point because it had been ongoing. Like, this was February and I had gone in the hospital in December. So that was just like, I was just like, all right, well, let's do it now. Like, I got my answer. Let's go.
Yeah. You're like, next steps. You guys made me wait 3 months. I need to know. Okay. So when chemo started, that was aggressive, right? Pretty aggressive.
Yeah. That was intense.
Was it a port? I can't remember.
Yes. I have a port in.
Okay. Oh, right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I still have it.
Okay. And, can you talk about the feelings you had, the freak out, the scare of just starting chemo in general? It's a scary topic.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's so much that goes in before chemo that I never would have thought. Like, I was on the phone constantly because it's like, you have to get all these tests done before you even start chemo. So like, I got the port in, and that's so, you know, it doesn't mess up your veins for the future. You know, it's so sensitive. It's such powerful stuff going in you. So I got the port put in, and then they have to do a bone marrow test to make sure it's not in you there. And then you have to do like a breathing test so they can regulate, or not regulate, but keep track for the future, and like all this different stuff to make sure that your levels are all
like
the
you're
same.
healthy enough to take the port.
And well, just to make sure that the chemo doesn't change your body later. So you do all these things, and then they talk about like, they want you to go in, you have to talk about freezing your eggs because infertility can be an issue in the future. So like, you know, you get this news, and then you're trying to do like all of these trillion tests and like all this stuff on top of everything else. So it's...
Did you freeze your eggs?
I didn't. No.
Okay. Because it could possibly not affect it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So in some cases, and maybe this is TMI, but I got my period.
No,
so that's
okay.
a good sign for me in the future.
It's never TMI on this. You're fine.
So that's a good sign for me in terms of like my future infertility. But
and your body not changing from the chemo.
So it's like, maybe I just was at a place where I was like, I just want to start treatment. Like, I don't want to extend this process right now for me. Like, I'm just not in a place
because it's another injection. It's another, it's such a process to freeze your eggs.
Right.
That's how I get pregnant. So like, I get that because you waited so long for that answer. You're like, I need to get rid of this.
Yes, exactly.
Let's just do this and cross our fingers and hope for the best. Right.
Yes. That's exactly how I
pray,
took it.
Of
yes.
course.
Yes.
But so when you decided to start treatment, were you like next week started testing, the week after, like it just went fast?
Yes. And that's what I wanted. Like, I feel like at that point, that was where I was at. Like, I was just so excited to have an answer and be ready to like start getting well that I was like, all right, well, let's go. Let's do this. Like, chemo. Okay, fine. Like, yeah, let's go. And then I think it got harder the longer I got into it, you know what I mean? And kind of realized more how I was going to feel. And like, I started feeling worse. So in the beginning, I was really like gung ho and just like full, you know, speed ahead. Exactly.
Pumped with chemo.
Chemo.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, I'm ready. And then you're like, wow, this is shitty.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did that change? I know you probably have a very strong group of friends. I know you have a strong family. How did that change your mindset as a 24-year-old? I mean, it goes from some 20, you probably not as much, but like some 24-year-olds being like, how many likes did I get today on my picture, to I have to fight cancer.
Right.
So it's like, how did you kind of steer away from staying positive and kind of really just, I think, being an inspiration for some people, but some friends maybe losing along the way?
Yeah, I think that's something really weird too, that you don't ever anticipate. Like, you don't think that that's going to be something that you think about during the process, but you do. And I've talked about it with my mom too. It's like, it's hard because ultimately you can't control how other people react to anything. So it's like, I kind of felt like disappointed from some people, you know what I mean? Friends that you thought like, oh, they would be checking in, and not even like on the daily or anything, you know, but just like more interest in the situation, because it feels like you're thinking, if I was an outsider in the situation, like I would think, oh my gosh, this is like so intense. This is so serious. So it's like, where is that reciprocated, you know?
I know. It makes you super
people.
Thankful for the people around you.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out to mom.
Yes, shout out to mom. Shout out to my parents.
Yeah.
So important. But then you really do value the people that, you know, you can see want to check in and like want to hear the nitty gritty, because that's a big deal too. People that don't want to just hear like, oh,
everything's
fine.
great.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it sucks today. Like, it's really crappy.
Exactly. And not every day is going to be like, oh, it's the worst day. But, you know, on those days that it feels horrible, then it's like you really appreciate even more the people that will listen to it, you know?
And what makes you feel like what do you think helped you keep that attitude? I mean, when you sent a letter to all of the parents to let us know, like, it was just like, wow, there's way too much positivity in here. I feel like crap for her. But it was just like, was that kind of your only way to get through and cope?
Yeah, I would say. And two, it's just like, I mean, I feel lucky because, like I said, this is like, I mean, this is, they said, one of the better cancers to have, you know what I mean? Because it can be quote unquote cured, and, you know, you can like go on and live your life normally. So I feel like, all things considered, like, pretty lucky end of the stick, you know, in this situation. It's not great, but at the same time, I feel like, of course, how could I not be glad? And, you know, I was able to keep working, so that I feel like that just made such a big difference too. Like if I would have been home by myself all the time, I think that would have been very isolating, you know, and hard. But like being around the kids and the parents like you know, people that are so awesome and like supportive definitely helped in the day to day.
Do you feel that people sometimes like kind of don't talk to you because they're worried about asking you how your day is?
Yeah, I do.
You're
which
like,
I think,
hey, I'm here.
which I mean, I almost can't fault people for, because I know it's like, if you haven't dealt with it, like people don't always know what to say. And I mean, I feel, you know, they probably don't want to say anything insensitive. So like, oh, nothing at all.
I feel like sometimes though, the insensitive gives you a time to like educate as an educator. I feel like when I was trying to get pregnant and all those things, like, hey, you guys have been married, why aren't you having kids yet? Or something like that. And I was like, here's a time to educate you on things not to say.
Yes, for sure.
And I feel like cancer is because it's such a shitty thing that we just like don't want to say the word.
Right.
But I feel like, you know, things are put in your path to teach others, and you worked with children, so you got to see simple like the simple smiles, and you got to kind of utilize that to then be like, okay, wait, there's things to be happy about. Like I'm going through a lot right now, but you're also going to be that role model. Like, I mean, that's huge. And I think if people keep that mindset like you did, especially at the age you're at, because it's either going to destroy you or it's going to make you stronger. Like, what are your goals from this? Are you going to try to do anything to kind of work from what you're going through?
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a journalism degree, so I love to write. And I mean, that's like a whole other story. Like I tried to go to New York right after I graduated, and you know, it didn't work out. And I really, really believe everything happens for a reason. And I believe I was back here, you know, with my mom, working with my mom. What are the odds of that, you know, in this kind of like shitty scenario, that you're like literally working with your mom? And all of the coworkers that we have are awesome and so supportive, and you know, so. And
you could have been living the busy life in New York, not focusing on yourself as much.
Exactly. And I just think like, you know, I feel like it would have been hard if I had something built like this whole life somewhere else, you know what I mean? And you have to leave it. And I just feel like lucky. And I'd like to, I don't know, do something with writing. I signed up for like a fiction contest writing thing, and I signed up to take like an online social media course, just like, trying to get back into things that I enjoy like outside of work. You know what I mean?
I love that. Did you start writing during this?
I've been writing.
Your go-to?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just even blogs or something, because you don't realize. I mean, I've had a couple people I haven't talked to in years just reach out and be like, love that one interview, it really hit home, and you're just like, wow, that like one person made you feel like I've done something, and that one writing you send out could literally help someone through their next struggle. Yes. And talking about the real stuff, your lows, like it's life. Yes. And just being real about it. But we get scared to like talk about that, right? Because you don't want to either offend someone, you know, like if you're talking about something crappy and then someone's having a crappier day, but it's like, no, this is, I use the word crap like 4 times, but this is like your day, like to talk about. And even though you probably were always like, other people have it worse or something, because I just feel like that's your personality of like, no, I'll be fine. Yeah. But it's true. Like this is your obstacle and you took it head on, and you're still doing it. Yeah. So how often is the chemo?
Well, I actually just had my last one. Okay. So I had 12 chemo treatments. Yeah. Okay. So that's like, they're considered like cycles. So it's 6 cycles of 2. Yeah. So 12. And then my scan hopefully should be clear, free.
So do you sometimes react horribly and sometimes react okay? Because I remember the one time we were going to do the interview, you're like, Kate, I just don't know how I'm going to feel. Yes. Because it's so hit or miss.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think, I don't know what it depends on, but it's just like sometimes I, you know, can pull through and like make my way. Like the last chemo I had, I went to my friend's bridal shower. I'm in the wedding. So, you know, last Saturday or the previous one, I was able to go. And like I had chemo on Thursday and I'm here. Yes. I'm good.
Yeah,
you know
okay. What I mean? Yeah.
Yes. So
sometimes you're like, all right.
Yes,
okay.
Like, let's go.
But sometimes it puts you in bed rest, right?
Yes. Yes. And definitely I think in the beginning too, it was more of like, the shock of just like your body being like, oh, what is going on? Like, how do I, deal with this? So I definitely like didn't move for like the first several. I was just like laid up all weekend.
And on your like low lows, what's your go-to to kind of get you up again?
Do you mean like
your, not your Candy Crush to get your mind off it, but more of like your motivation, like what gets you up?
Yeah.
I mean, you are going through one of the hardest things people go through in life. Something to do with your health that you have no control over. What is your go-to? I mean, a lot of people are praying, or a lot of people are reading, or a lot of music, or like, what's yours?
Lots of music. Have you ever seen Casey Neistat on YouTube?
No.
Oh my gosh, I feel like you'd like him. He's just incredible. He's this like filmmaker, and he just makes these videos, and he's just always on the go, always doing, and I love that. Yeah, just like feel good stuff. I try to watch stuff like that, or like I love Princess Diaries too. so kind of random. Yes. And I've read a lot during this time. I keep track of all the books I've read, and definitely just my poor mom and dad have heard, every last complaint out of me, but I appreciate it so much because they've just listened to it. And, it's hard on them too, having to listen to this when it hurt, it's them too,
Your support system, also the caregivers in this process definitely get hit hard, but they got to stay strong for the person you need taken care of. And I totally understand that. I think not even as a parent now, just as a person, a friend, a sibling, that you're just like, wow, I want to take this away. And I guarantee when that news hit you hard, it hit your mom who was if your dad was in there too. But that it's a family thing or a friend thing. It's your support system thing. And it's just hard for everyone.
Yes.
But I absolutely love your energy and vibe. And you guys just, it's not that you're like, oh, everything's fine mode, but you're real. So it's like, I feel like shit today, but I'm here.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
it's real, and it's important to be like that because you're not going through something easy. Your family's not going through something easy. You're 24.
Yeah.
I doubt your mom was like, okay, well, so she was 24. We could do this. We could get through cancer or something. Like, that's just not what you do.
Right.
And I think at your age and generation, really, you can inspire so many people to like stop your Facebook reel of just not reality.
Exactly.
Get to focus on life, reality check of just like effort, life, attitude.
Yes, 100%.
And it's hard, but to be honest, things like this help you realize what your circle is, right? So now you know who you want to be around.
Right.
And what brings you like the best joy, even on your low days. I mean, you guys, people can complain together. I have friends that were like, oh, this is horrible today. But I feel like you made the best out of this situation. And your next scan is
next Friday.
That's huge. Lots of prayers for that.
Thank you.
This will be after that scan. So I'll make sure to update our listeners.
Yes.
But I think sharing your story is big. How do you feel about sharing your story?
I feel good. And you were right. I was super nervous coming in. I was like worried. I don't know. I was worried that I was going to be too emotional, I guess, about like, not being able to tell it in the way that I wanted to. But I think you've asked great questions, and you're really like comforting to talk to too. So I feel like good.
Every time I've shared my story, it just gets easier. And it just brings you a little bit of like, oh, that wasn't that hard. And I could have just changed someone's life because your story could finish someone else's story. And I just think you're so young, and especially because you're a writer. I'm not great at writing, but I like to write. But all my friends who are writers, to be able to put pain and kind of triumph into one thing with the words that you've got. I mean, you have your degree in journalism, thank goodness. But like, you can just put that down, and the amount of people that are just going to be like wowed by it and touched, I think is one of the greatest gifts to have. So the fact that you're a writer, I think you should keep writing.
Yes.
I think, and teaching our kids, don't leave yet.
Yeah.
And I think if you just keep this attitude your whole life, I mean, sky's the limit. Do you feel like as a kid watching your parents or them telling you like attitude's everything, or like, what do you think helped get ready for this?
Oh, 100%. My parents have always been just so supportive of me and just so encouraging that I feel like it just, and even I would just say through this whole time, just like endless like love, and just, it was, I don't know, that this makes me emotional just because, Oh, yeah. You're just the best.
Yeah, that's huge. I think any child who's had the supportive parents, just in any, I mean, because we make mistakes. We're parents. I've told people you give crappy advice sometimes. It's going to happen, right? I feel like it's going to happen, but just watching and by actions and just unconditional love.
Yes.
You can really get your kid through any obstacle they feel like they're going to face. And that's okay to get emotional. You got good people on your side.
Yes.
And I love that. Okay. So favorite quote.
Oh my gosh.
I told you about this.
I know you did. I know you did. Oh my gosh.
Your mom might know. Mom?
Well, my favorite quote has always been by Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to the beauty. Oh geez, now I'm watching it.
It's okay.
The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And I think that just kind of encompasses everything. Just like if you believe that there's going to be something good on the other side, then there will be, you know?
Yes. Okay. I love that. And dream job for you now?
Dream job for me, it's always been something with writing. And the thing is, I'm picky because I've never wanted to, like, I don't know, I'm sure as a creative, you'll kind of see what I'm saying. Like, I've never wanted to have to censor what I say or write to someone else's standard. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes, and I don't.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like, you want to do it on your own terms. So that's like my ideal. In my ideal world, there is something, you know, where I can just write what I'd like to write. I don't know whether that be like freelancing or anything, but I really like all things creative and like photography and videography. And I did a lot of it. And I feel like now that I'm starting to be well, like even if it's just for me, I can start to pick that back up again.
Passion project.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. Okay, Leah, let's go over your GoFundMe. I know you're on Facebook. Do you have an Instagram handle? Go over that kind of stuff.
Yes. So my Instagram handle is Leah with 2 H's. And I've had that since like 2008. My dad the other day was like, wait, is that actually your Instagram name? I was like, yes. My brother's like, it's been that since she's in middle school.
That's like my AOL account, Kiki2312, because my nephew couldn't say Katie.
Amazing.
And my sister's like, do you still have it? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't use it.
Yes.
I don't like put that on my parent teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like our AIM username.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Mine was like Hershey's Kiss 7.
The friend's on. You're like, oh my gosh, let me talk to her. Yeah. So Leah.
Yes.
And then GoFundMe.
Oh, yes.
Just Leah Marshall.
Yes,
okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And then everybody will find you on Not a Great Whisper podcast page and at The Real K-Ray. I loved having you. Do you have any last things you want the audience to know? Get them pumped for the day?
I would just say carry on and keep doing you. And there's always something good on the other side. You just have to believe it. And just think, even if it sucks right now, that one day you'll be on the other side and you'll think, oh, I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But you made it there, you know? And you just have to look forward and envision that future.
Yes, I love that. Okay. So thank you again for joining, Deb. Thanks for joining.
You.
I love the mother-daughter duo. And again, follow us on Not a Great Whisperer podcast. We are at BKN Creative Studio in Ybor, and our sponsor is McMullen Oil in Clearwater, Florida. And thanks for joining. Morty's Music Beats will be your ending. Bye.